What we thought might take weeks only took a few more days since last filming. Here we have a pupa. Let me share with you what I have learned today. As you can see, these little guys, they're swimming back. This is a video I took a bit earlier. They're swimming up and down. Let's look at the top of the screen here. These we thought at first were eggs, and we couldn't, for the life of us, fathom where these eggs came from. But they're not eggs, and soon you'll find out what they are. This here is, the fourth instar, the fourth form instar, fourth stage of the larva. And you can see smaller stages here. This is maybe the second instar. This is maybe the second instar. But swimming up and down rather quickly, here's a fourth instar. From this, it'll become a pupa. Let's go over here and watch the pupae, also known as tumblers, and you'll see why they're called tumblers. Swim back up. See that thing right there? That is a tumbler. And let's see another one come up. Look at this little guy right here. Now, if you notice how there's the tumbler right there, that's a pupa. See how they're doing this little motion here? If you've ever looked at sea creatures, filter feeders, you will recognize this. Probably Culiseta, inornata, which is what I think this mosquito is. They're filter feeders. They're not predators. There's a few predators out there. They don't probably dig out, they don't eat rotting stuff at the bottom of the jar or the pool. They're filter feeders. Okay, what does the pupa actually look like? Well, here we go. Using the power of microscopy, we're going to learn a little more about these creatures. And I'm going to share with you the resources I used to learn. For truly, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Let's zoom in on this puppy right here. That is not what you'd expect from it's actually kind of cute looking when you think about it. Kind of cute looking. So here's what I've learned, and I'll show you how I learned it. This right here is its breathing trumpet. So earlier, if you recall, we learned that the larva breathe through this siphon-looking thing here, also known as a spiracle. Technically, they breathe through the spiracle, so they're essentially ass breathers. But the pupa, which is a non-feeding form, but it's highly mobile, unlike the pupa of, say, butterflies, which we're used to, breathe through these mothers right here, these things right here, and they have a paddle here. And interestingly, this Dumbo-looking flap right here is, you guessed it, a paddle, which it uses to swim. How did I learn this? Great question. You're in luck. You're going to get an answer. I learned it from reading a translation of A.V. Maslov's Blood-Sucking Mosquitoes of the Subtribe Culisetina Diptera Culicidae in World Fauna. Let's go to page 117 in the PDF. Bada bing, bada boom. Look at this. Unbelievable. So Dumbo here, otherwise known as the tumbler, has this flappy dappy it uses to move around with. And they're really fast. They were super hard to catch. Not easy at all. And they have two of these breathing apparata, one on each side, one here and one here. Let's look at some pictures. We have got pictures. Yes, we do. Here's a dorsal view of one of the guys I have in the microscope right now. You can see it has a shrimp-looking double fin situation over here, and here you can see one of the trumpets, and this one's breaking through the water, and that's why you have a meniscus-looking thing there. Let's look at the side view. Here you can see its little Dumbo-looking flap right here, and one of its breathing trumpets. And if you read this book, it's actually rather easy read. It's not that complex. The people who know what they're doing can identify the species of the mosquito by effectively counting the setae, S-E-T-A singular, S-E-T-A-E plural, the little bunches of hairs that come out. That's interesting. That's interesting. I think it's fascinating that they're mobile. That it's a pupa form that's highly mobile. And what fascinates me here is this little guy tumbles up. Right there he is. He's tumbling. And he hits something, but he doesn't get as scared as he does when I tap the jar. They're very hard to catch. These instars are much easier to catch than these. Now, what are these things up here? Initially, we thought they were eggs, but they are not eggs. I will show you what they are using the power of, you guessed it, microscopy. This is the molt of the fourth instar before it became a pupa. And we're going to focus. And each one of those danglies is actually the siphon or the spiracle that has broken off this thing right here. This thing right here. Now, beside that multi guy is a trigger warning. If you don't like seeing animals not having a good time, don't watch this anymore. But right here is a fourth instar, fairly alive, mostly alive, pupa, not pupa, sorry, fourth instar of the larval stage. And we can zoom in and we can compare a little bit what it looks like while breathing and with its full organs. And so I'll maybe put him back in the jar, give him a chance. All this is its internals, and then when it becomes a pupa, it just busts out like all arthropods seem to do. They can shift their stages. Okay, I'll finish this section of the video with this. When you look up mosquitoes, the only thing you get from Google is stuff about abatement and killing them and whatever. And I understand why humans don't like mosquitoes. They are vectors for a lot of disease. Fine. Okay. But if you want to destroy your enemy, you got to know something. And the stuff that's shared by control districts, abatement organizations, and the poison companies, you know, it's advertising basically. They're not really teaching you about the enemy. They're teaching you about what they do or what they sell. So if you want to learn much more about mosquitoes, this is a very short PDF. It's 17 pages, a little easier to read than Mr. Maslov's stuff. And I learned a lot from it. So I will share this in the resources. Now, let's move away from looking at these insects under the microscope and look at them across time. Time is a very interesting thing to look at. Why don't we look at Latin? So why is it called Culiseta? Why is it called Culiseta? The answer to the question as to why it's called Culiseta is because we in English are inheritors of effectively the Latin and Greek culture. That's where we get our writing and a lot of our ideas. And so when scientists, especially during and after the Renaissance, went to name the world, went to classify and name all the little things they were finding with their new intellectual and mechanical tools, they reached into the ancient documents to come up with names to name all the things in the world, even if those very words which were preserved in the writing had over time evolved into common everyday words that people inherited as just part of being born in society. So here we have an interesting text. I'll read you a little bit in my best pronunciation, which is not very good. And then we will look at the translation. So we'll start here. Ut asilo sive tabanum dici placet, item culici, et quibusdam mucis, omnibus autem his in ore et prolingua. What does that mean? God knows. But here we have, thanks to the power of the internet, a little translation right here. And what I read to you is roughly this. The wings of all insects have no cleft. None has a tail except the scorpion. This is the only insect that has arms, and also a spike in the tail. Some of the rest have a sting, for instance the gadfly, or if you like breeze, and also the gnat, and some flies. But with all of these, it is in the mouth and settles as a tongue. Culex was the Latin word for a gnat, a gnat. What does that mean? We can't be entirely sure because modern science draws a lot of divisions which people didn't. For example, in Turkish, balık, meaning fish, makes reference to, dolphins. Yunus balığı is, dolphin fish. And in Old English, or even in parts of English, worm was indistinct between, say, annelid worms and snakes and sea creatures. And here is one of my favorite words, musquis. What is musquis? If you speak Spanish, you know the word mosca. Mosca is the origin for the English mosquito, meaning a small mosca. It means a fly from some Indo-European root, which means fly. Now, what does that mean, Indo-European root? It means that we, in the modern day, will look at words that sort of sound the same, or we know based on our analysis of the vocal tract, of how our mouth parts move. Analysis of the vocal tract tells us, oh, okay, these could easily be related. These mutate from one another, like pater in Latin and father in English. And so we say, oh, these must be related. And so they're connected. And obviously we say, oh, mosca and all these words mean they're all related. Okay, and here's mosquito right here, and supposedly mosquito and midge are related in some way, which I will share the resources and you can look at it however you want. What is this work we're reading, though? What is this? Why is this guy talking about this? It is a guy talking about this. Well, this is the work of Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder, Naturalis Historia, published in 77 AD, before Christ was born. And it is the best, most complete work of natural history that has survived since that time. In fact, so many of the words in science that we use to refer to the natural world are actually words borrowed from Pliny or Aristotle. Anyway, so now the question for you is, what are the words that you use to make reference to mosquitoes in your dialect of English or perhaps in a different language you may speak? I speak Spanish, as you might have surmised by the fact that I am using this excellent resource. Etymologiasdechile.net is the best etymological dictionary of Spanish, and it comes from my native country, or semi-native country, half-native country. There you go. Okay, so I will tell you the words I know. In Chile, in my semi-native country, whatever that means, the word for mosquito is not mosquito, which is a word we know and understand. We say zancudo. What is zancudo? Well, it comes from zancudo. It comes from zanca, which means like the long shin bone. It's a long shin bone, and it comes from some ancient word which meant like the Roman sandals that you wrap up your shin bone. And apparently, supposedly, comes from some sort of Persian word. I don't believe it. They don't seem to believe it very much. They're nobody's so sure. In Turkish, we don't say, mosquito or anything like that. Turkish comes from a very different language family. They say sivrisinek. What is a sivrisinek? Well, a sinek is a fly. And a sivrisinek, a needly fly, is a mosquito. Okay, now I asked my Slavic-speaking friend, good old Georgie boy, how you say this in Russian, and it's Komar.
Комар.
Oh, Komar. A lower back vowel. Komar. But in Bulgarian,
Комар.
very interesting. Let's check out Ukrainian.
Комар.
Okay, how about Chechen?
Komar.
Interesting. How about Tatar?
Komor.
So here you have a situation where you have a word, meaning a certain set of characters, that is pronounced very differently in different languages. Now, good old Georgie boy was generous enough to share a link to the etymologies of these Slavic words that you heard there, komar and komar, stress difference. As you can see, that the words have always been connected, it seems, based on modern analysis, to some form of insect. And in some regions it might mean gnat, whatever that means. And look at this, they've got a synonym which is, to my eye, clearly derived from the Latin, which has had a large influence on many languages in Europe. Once again, how do you say mosquito in your dialect or in your language? I'd be very curious to find out. Leave your answer in the comments below. Okay, in summary, in this video, we have learned about the structure of these creatures. We've learned about the little flappy dappies. We've learned about how they breathe in 2 different ways throughout their lifetimes. Actually, 3 different ways. The larvae breathe, the eggs, 4. The eggs breathe through the egg casing. The larva breathe through the little siphony-diphony thing, which is called the spiracle. The pupa, which is highly motile and hard to catch, breathes through these trumpets, and the adult breathes through A spiracle, probably a related, there must be a reason why the name is shared. I do not know the answer why, but they breathe through a spiracle, which is a little pore. I think most insects, most arthropods breathe through little pores right there. So that's 4 different ways of breathing in one species. Okay, so in summary, we have learned a lot about these wonderful animals. We have learned about how the pupa moves and how it breathes. We've learned about how the larva eats. We've learned about the cast off casings and the spiracles hanging out here, and we've learned a little bit about the history of the words in English and in a couple languages that make reference to these creatures, but then again make reference to the creatures today. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Don't forget to share your local dialectical or whatever term you have in your languages, in the language you speak, other than English, especially. I'm interested in that in the comments below. And I will share, of course, all the resources I used to learn all these things in the description. Thank you very much for your time and have a nice day.